Principles by Emily Ortega. Principles in curriculum design. So, in the curriculum designs, the principles are general guidelines that helps teachers to make the decisions. The text explains that they are not like strict rules that must always be followed, but instead they act as a guide for the teaching and learning. This means that the teachers can use them to decide what to include in a course and how to organize it. Another important point is that these principles are flexible so they can be adapted depending on the students, their needs, or the context. For example, what works in one classroom may not work in another. So, overall, principles give direction, but at the same time, they allow teachers to make adjustment when is necessary. Where do they come from? So, according to the text, the principles come from several different sources, not just one. First, they come from research about how people learn languages, which provides useful information about effective teaching. They are also based on learning theories, which explain how the students understand and process new information. In addition to that, the text mentioned that the teacher's own experience is very important because they learn from what happens in real classrooms. For example, they can see what activities work well and which ones do not. The observation and practice also play a role since teachers improve over time. So, in general, the principles are a combination of theory and real life teaching experience. The purpose of principles. So, the main purpose of principles in curriculum design is to guide the decision making. The text explains that they help teachers to organize the course in a clear and logical way. For instance, they influence what content should be included, how it should be taught, and in what order. So another important idea is that the principles helps to improve the learning because everything in the course has a clear purpose. Also, they create consistency, meaning that the course follows a clear direction instead of being random. Without principles, teaching could become disorganized. So basically, the principles helps to make the course more effective and structured for both teachers and the students. Principles and teaching activities. So, in the text explains that the principles are very important when selecting teaching activities. The teachers should not choose activities randomly, but instead they should select ones that match the objectives of the course. This means that every activity should have a clear purpose and help the students achieve a specific goal. In addition, the activities should respond to a student's needs and interest, so they feel more motivated. Another point mentioned in the text is that when principles are applied, the activities become more meaningful. As a result, the students are more engaged and participate more actively in class. So principles help make sure the activities are useful and not just something that pass the time. After needs and environment analysis. So, in the text explains that at this stage, teachers use principles to guide their decisions when planning the course. For example, they help to decide what content should be included and what teaching methods should be used. They also help to organize the structure of the course in a logical way. In other words, principles connect the analysis with the actual planning. So, instead of making random decisions, the teachers follow the guidelines to create a more organized and effective course. So this makes the whole process clearer and more pur- purposeful. So the importance of consistency in the text emphasized that it's very important to apply principles consistently throughout the course. So This is because the consistency helps to create coherence, meaning that everything is connected and follows the same direction. If principles are not applied consistently, the course may become confusing or disorganized for students, or, on the other hand, when they are used properly, they provide a clear structure and make learning easier to follow. Another important point is that consistency leads to better results because the students understand what to expect. So overall, applying principle is a consistent way helps to create a more stable and effective learning experience. Thank you for your attention.